it's Mike here from The Art of Guitar, here today with the 8 most gut-wrenching hard rock ballads of all time. These songs have been with me most of my life, and they do definitely get me through some hard times. Like right now I'm actually going through a little bit of something, and it's helping me out quite a bit. Just going back and rehashing these songs, listening to them, they sort of remind me how we always get through the tough times. And they can also serve as a sort of companion to you as you're going through these times, almost like it's something to relate to, like something understands you. Let's start with number 8 and work our way to number 1. Here we go. The song Save Your Love by Great White really hit me right away. I was really young when I first heard it, and I didn't have any heartbreak at the time, but it sort of made me feel like I did. It was really strange. It like put me in that place. And right off the bat, you have that famous E minor add 9 sound. So it's this. You hear that in a ton of songs. You know, when I first started playing guitar, I learned Sanitarium. Has that kind of vibe, but Great White uses it like this. Such a melancholy sound, isn't it? And there's just something about Jack Russell's voice when he sings it. It's so smooth sounding, but they put a ton of reverb on it. So that kind of makes it sound like it's in a big castle or a big hallway or something. And it really sits on top of that guitar part really well. It fits together perfectly. What it does for me when I hear it, you know, not just because of the lyrics, but the way the song feels, it always makes me feel like I'm missing somebody. Like they're far away and I'm longing for them and I just can't be with them. So this song has that kind of magic pull that puts you in that sort of space. Okay, we gotta switch guitars now. The guitar solo for Save Your Love is this weeping sound, and it starts off like this. Seems like a weird way to start off a ballad solo with a big pick slide, but it works. So all that to me sounds real sad, longing, like I said before, but then he kicks into this lick. And I think it's kind of like when you're sad, sometimes you lash out and get angry. I'm just guessing, but I think that's what he was kind of expressing with that spastic run right there. The end kind of makes me laugh because, you know, the vocals just keep building and building, and all of a sudden there are 2 vocal parts, but it's sung by Jack Russell. I think it's actually him duetting himself in a way. So, you know, in the past we've had Dolly and Kenny duetting together. We had Lionel Richie and Diana Ross. We had Sonny and Cher, and now we have Jack and Jack. Number 7 is Heaven by Warrant. Now, there are a lot of obvious songs, you know, like I Remember You by Skid Row. I thought about doing that one, but I wasn't in the right place when that song came out to really feel it. But for some reason, when Heaven by Warrant came out, I was feeling it completely. I was about 12 years old, I believe, and I remember being home by myself quite a bit. And that song would come on MTV, and I would just hear the words, and it kind of put me in this nostalgic place, even though I was too young to really have a ton of nostalgia. I still imagine what it would be like. Plus the lyrics, if you listen to it, you know, heaven isn't too far away, closer to it every day. A young mind takes that in, and it kind of puts you in this existential crisis way before you should be doing that kind of thing. And years later, it became even more melancholy, the song, because of the way Jani Lane died and just how sad he seemed to be before he died. I remember seeing an interview where he was talking about writing Cherry Pie, and it looked like he was going to cry. It was a really, really sad moment, and then he passed away. So it's one of those things that kind of reminds me of that when I hear Heaven. I love in the lyrics how he talks about going back to your hometown and saying all the things you remember, and the nostalgic feel has really hit me in the last, I don't know, 10 years, and I like to go back to my old neighborhood, and it brings back a lot of memories, and whenever Heaven ends up being on my playlist, it just fits together really well. And the sad part of nostalgia is, you know, when you're back in your old neighborhood, you just feel like you can never truly go back home. You know, it's like, that's been there, we've done that, it's time to move on to the next thing, but you have a lot of good memories attached to those old times. So you want to go back, but you know deep down you could never do that. And a funny memory about that video is at the very end, Jani Lane turns around and does like a slow motion wink. And my sister and her friend would watch the video, and it came on almost every day for a while, because that's how MTV worked. They had like a countdown, and Warrant was on the top 5 for a long time. And so he would wink, and they would scream. The first time they did that, my heart stopped. I was like, oh my God, it was like Beatlemania in my living room. Another song that was always on MTV for a long period of time was Close My Eyes Forever by Lita Ford and Ozzy Osbourne. That video got so much play at the time. I love the intro riff. It's very Call of Cthulhu by Metallica. I like to compare a lot of things to Metallica, but it sounds like this. creates a very good foundation for the start of a ballad between two giants like Ozzy and Lita. It's got to be a little bit dark sounding, it has to have a little bit of mystical quality to it, and then, of course, the somberness to it, too. What really caught my ear and puts you in that place is I think that reverse effect they put on the acoustic, whatever that is. So it's during this part. Okay, let me try to add the reverse effect. I don't know if this is going to work. I'll do it in post-production. Here we go. I hope that worked out. Once again, I was pretty young when I heard this, and so hearing the lyrics "close my eyes forever," you're thinking someone's dying, someone's killing themselves, whatever it is. And it just puts a lot of big adult thoughts into your brain at a really strange time. And part of me thinks that a lot of my existential crises as an adult came from watching MTV when I was a kid. And then there's a huge gong. I believe it's in the final verse or the final chorus. And it's just this feeling like you're getting flushed down the toilet. So it kind of captures that feeling perfectly, like you're just going down the drain, Number 5 is Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone by Cinderella. This is one of those tunes that it was kind of ironic because when it came out, my sister bought the cassette. And I remember the cover because it looked like snow. It's completely white looking with some purple text, I think. Going off memory quite a bit today. That winter that she bought it was a long, cold winter. Talk about setting the mood. That piano part in the beginning is just epic. Right off the bat, the first few chords, you're starting to feel it. It creates that atmosphere that just totally takes me. And of course, Tom Kiefer's voice is legendary, but it has that tearing type of sound to it, And so it adds to the painful quality of the song, especially, ironically, once again, over the lyric, tearing through my soul. Just the way he sings that. It's funny how this song kind of sticks with me my whole life. Every time I take something for granted and then it's gone, I always find myself singing that chorus afterwards. And I keep thinking, when am I going to learn, So the title of the song is like some kind of wise proverb that I think can teach you a good lesson if you really follow it. There's something in the solo that I really love. It's this idea of repeating a lick multiple times, and it really drives it home. So it goes like this. So on that walk down 3 times. And at the end, he does a double stop bend that just tears through my soul, if you will. Number 4 is House of Pain by Faster Pussycat. Faster Pussycat was actually the second band I ever saw live. First it was Slaughter, then Faster Pussycat, and then Kiss. All of them were on the Hot in the Shade tour. Something you don't hear too much in hard rock ballads is a harmonica. And all of a sudden, over the guitar part, you hear this harmonica, and it really puts me in this place where I feel kind of lonely. It feels like you're all by yourself, maybe like a hobo on a train car going nowhere. And all you have is your harmonica, and that's what I would play, something like that. One thing I noticed when I was researching this song is that if you play it in headphones or earbuds, and you're in public and you look around like I was in a bookstore, it looked like everybody was moving in slow motion. It was a really strange phenomenon, but some songs can do that. They can alter your perception. If you listen to the lyrics too closely, you'll get really depressed. When it talks about a boy missing his dad and the mom being like, don't waste your time, he's never coming back. And then the lyric where the boy says, I've got time. That kind of choked me up the first time I heard it. It was a really powerful lyric. And then at the end of the song, the chorus is unrelenting. It just keeps going and keeps going. It keeps adding sounds and voices. And by the end, it just sounds like this full chorus singing it. I know it's not, but it sounds like it at times. And it gives you this feeling of comfort. Once again, misery loves company. So if you're going to be sad and you're singing a song like House of Pain, you might as well have a lot of other people singing it with you, kind of just in a comforting way, and that's how it comes off when you listen to it. At the end, there's this dialogue, and he talks about how, he's alone again, but the good part of that is that you learn how to live on your own. So kind of a positive message at the end, even though it's still sad. Number 3 is When the Children Cry by White Lion. Here's another album my sister bought. Thank God for my sister. She really got into hair metal, which helped me get into hard rock, hair metal, all that kind of stuff at the time. And I remember the White Lion album also being almost all white. I mean, it kind of makes sense. White Lion, white cover. And I think you could see the outline of a lion's face or something, but it's pretty cool. The acoustic intro by Vito Bratta is timeless, and I really love the end, how he ends up with harmonics, like natural harmonics. That's harder than it looks. Switch again. Really great singers can emote in a certain way that really makes you feel the song. And the way Mike Tramp's voice kind of cracks a little bit, not cracks, but it's like vocal fry, right when he says the word child. Check this out. Little child. Isn't that great? And then when the chorus hits, guess what chord comes back? The E minor add 9 is back for the attack, so there's some real similarities between a lot of these songs. Maybe I'll do a video someday about like the 7 things you need to make a hard rock ballad. But yeah, that chord is very apparent in this song. Once again, I may have been too young when I heard the lyrics to this tune, but it really makes you think about generations and how one will just kind of screw the world up, and then it's up to the kids to kind of come up and take over. When I was a kid, it really made me sad for the kids, but then I realized that even now that I'm an adult, that the world still seems screwed up, and I feel just as helpless at times to do anything about it. I'm sure everyone can relate to that feeling. Sorry to bum everybody out, but of course it's an incredible solo, probably one of the most legendary solos, but it's just the way, for some reason, the tapping sounds that makes it sad for me. So like this whole part. And then, of course, at the very end, it ends with this slow dive bomb into nothing. Once again, almost like a note going into the abyss. Sorry, I don't have the best sustain today, but it kind of worked. Number 2 is Don't Close Your Eyes by Kix. Not Kiss, but Kix with an X. And I always thought that these guys were great, but they were kind of underrated. It's like not a lot of people knew about them outside of the true hardcore fans, and they did have a couple of hits, but they seem to kind of disappear in the zeitgeist. I think recently they just played their final show or something, but yeah, they were a really great band. Check them out. I recall on MTV seeing the video for this, and it really stuck out because instead of being black and white, it was black and pink. So very cool style choice, especially for the time, it fit right in, but it really makes this video stand out from all the other ones. Right off the bat, you have sort of this dream on thing happening on the keys. It sounds like this. I'll play it on guitar. It sounds better on keys, but that's just an example of it. The way the bass notes walk down like that sort of puts you in this weird, troubling headspace. And of course, once again, any song about taking your own life is going to be tragic. It's going to really fill your mind with a lot of emotions. You gotta love the lyric, "Don't sing your last lullaby." That still gets me when I hear that. Here's another song where the vocals really have that tearing sound. He just had that way of cutting through on some of the notes, especially right before the big build-up to the bridge, and he sings the word no a certain way. Check this out. Here's something really great about the songwriting of this tune. So it starts off pretty standard. There's a verse, then there's a chorus, then there's another verse, and then your brain is expecting another chorus. But they don't do that. They sing the no part and they go into the bridge. So it's a really cool way to kind of mix and match the parts to change it up a little bit. Because like I said, we're all expecting one thing and all of a sudden it goes to the bridge. I think that's pretty epic. The solo is filled with double stops, and those could be very haunting if they're played a certain way. For example, if you go... Hear that? Just that dissonance. It's very... messes with your ear a little bit. And then he does something like this. I tried to figure it out real quick, but... I accidentally had my front pickup on, but it sounded cool. I'm going to keep it. So you notice at the end, he hits those 2 natural harmonics, which is kind of what Vito Bratta did for When the Children Cry. So that's another thing you could do in hard rock ballads, is a lot of natural harmonics. But one thing my ear wants to hear, if I could go back in time and I was like a producer of the band, I would have suggested this. I always thought it would be really cool at the end of the solo if he hit one of the harmonics and dove it down into the next chord, which is B flat. So if you're going like this... Maybe they wanted to. I'm just totally speculating here. But the guitar player was using a telly with what looked like a Bigsby. And if you ever played a Bigsby live, and you do any dive bombs on it, the chances of you being in tune after that are very slim. Trust me, I know from experience, from live experience. I did see a video once where he hit the harmonic and he did like a little neck dive by pushing it like that. Okay, before we talk about number one, let's quickly mention the honorable mention songs. Like I said earlier, I just didn't want to include too many. I didn't want this video to be like an hour long. But these songs were right on the cusp, but they didn't really hit me at the right time in my life to really pull me in like these other 8 do. But the first one is actually a Winger song called Miles Away. A lot of people know Headed for a Heartbreak as their main ballad, but if you ever listen to Miles Away and you just got through like a breakup or something, it'll really hit you hard. Along the same lines is Def Leppard's song called Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad? Once again, they have a ton of awesome ballads, of course, Love Bites, all that kind of stuff. But the song that really did it for me was Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad? Bon Jovi's Never Say Goodbye. One time I heard it towards the end of summer vacation, and we were getting older, and I thought, you know what, that's kind of sad that someday we're not going to be able to have summer vacation anymore, and you kind of got to say goodbye to your friends. They're all going to be going off to college or whatever they're going to do, and there's going to come a point where you have to say goodbye. So this song always reminded me of that. And then another song that always got to me was Wind of Change by the Scorpions. It's actually just Scorpions, never mind. I always say the Scorpions, but something you don't hear very often, except for maybe Patience. I didn't think of that. But the whistling in the beginning is very catchy. It kind of puts you in a mood, like you're walking along the beach with your hands in your pockets or something. I'm just imagining like a movie or something, and you're whistling and you're thinking about life and stuff. So I always thought about that one. Now, out of all the hard rock ballads, hair metal ballads, call it whatever you want to, that seems to haunt me late at night. I don't know if you ever get this, but I get weird dreams. Sometimes I wake up and I have this real sad feeling. I think I need to seek help. But all of a sudden I hear this song, like a song will just stick in my head and I can't shake it no matter what I do. And it always reminds me of the saddest stuff, and I almost can't explain it because the song itself doesn't really have the same ballad, slow, really depressing quality as some of the other ones did, but there's just something about the way it hit me at a certain time and the way it sounds. The song is called The Ballad of Jane by LA Guns, and I know the timing of this is kind of strange because Steve Riley just passed away, so that makes this extra sad for me. But the song starts off with this guitar riff that's kind of slidey, and it's funny because it doesn't tell me that it's going to be a sad tune. It just sounds like it's going to be like a Tesla type tune, like a rockin' rootsy kind of thing. See, I keep thinking they're just going to kick into like or something like that, but they don't. The way the chorus is sang and the fact that it's only 2 chords happening, it's very simple in a way, but very effective. That's the thing about simplicity. It's usually the most effective. If you're very complicated, sometimes it doesn't hit you the same. But the simplicity of this chorus, the 2 chords, and the way he's singing it, it's also got kind of that just real digging deep to the saddest part of you kind of sound. That's the best way I can explain it. This is kind of funny, but later on, when I got into the show Breaking Bad, way after this song ever came out, there's a character named Jane in that show, played by Kristen Ritter, one of my biggest crushes. Anyway, spoiler, she dies in a very terrible way in the show. And every time I think of her now, I think of this song and vice versa. It's kind of funny. And then when you watch the video for this song by LA Guns, there's a girl in the video and she kind of resembles Jane from Breaking Bad. And like I said earlier, I really can't quantify why this song really tears me apart so much when I hear it.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Mostly when I remember it, I should say, I really feel it the most. So maybe that's the strange power of this song, is that it's even more powerful when you remember it. That's kind of a cool thing. Okay, everyone, so those are my 8 most gut-wrenching hard rock ballads. Let me know if you agree. If you have your own list, that would be really cool to read. And I kind of want to do this for the alternative music scene as well, maybe some other genres, but I wanted to start off with the hard rock world because that is what affected me the most in my life, at least when I was a young teenager. So, okay, everyone. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you at the next video. Bye-bye.